Finishing mechanics on a triangle. From now, we're just going to start where we have come up into the one arm, one out scenario. Going to cross my legs. Going to get my hip up, so use her shoulder to come up with the hips. Feed the arm across, hip down so it locks their elbow into place. Grab the back of the head so they can't posture out. Because in a minute, I'm going to open up my legs and that doesn't hold them down as much. So grab the head, foot on the hip, and now I'm going to turn my body to the outside so my shin can get across and get parallel with her shoulders. So here, turn, come down and bite, and now you can do a switch where you grab the shin and pull up a little bit. Come over as high on the shin as you can, because if you get on the foot, it leaves a lot of room, and there's also a lot of flexibility here. So just high across the shin, toes up, heel down, and then when the heel go down, I start squeezing my legs together. So from here, heel down, knees together, and then we get the tap. So we have two different finish mechanics. There's the classic one and then more like newer one. So the classic one is we come up here, we get across and get parallel, and then we get the shin bone. And we kind of still face a little bit forward on them. And even if you get to the outside here, the leg still goes down towards her body and her hip. And then from here we can finish. That's the classic one. So from here, just toes up, heel down, knees together. The more newer version of it is if we have a hard time finishing, we either have too short legs or we have too long legs sometimes, can also be a problem, is when I come around here, instead of going to the back of the knee, I'm gonna toes up on the leg or the shoulder, and now I'm gonna try and like grab my calf with the toes. So from here, I'm gonna get a good hook on my calf, and now I'm gonna turn my legs so they go parallel with my own leg from here. So you squeeze the knee in, and then from here, I'm gonna just, again, heel down, and then you get the tap. So instead of being in this position where my leg goes down to her hip, it actually faces outwards when I go to here. So connect, knee in, and then heel down, and then we get a tap from here. Sometimes when you have a hard time finishing the triangle, it can be because of the connection you have on the side of the neck. So even if we get to a good bite here, if I end up not connecting completely on the neck with the back of my hamstring, but I kind of end up with this, it might look the same, but what you have in here is a big triangle. So if I lock it in here, it's actually just going to squeeze her hard, but it's not going to choke off the blood. So if you end up in this situation here, where there's a triangle, when we have switched and we get out to an angle here, and we try to squeeze and it doesn't really work, what you can do from here is you open up a little bit. Now I'm going to pull this knee inwards and I'm going to kick this through. So I'm trying to move her head a little bit down. So I'm going to squeeze in with my leg, and then I'm going to kick her down. So you can see I get a better bite from this because I get a more 90-degree angle versus like a 45-degree angle. So when you open up, just a little opening, squeeze the knee, kick through, and then from here, keep the squeeze, and then again, we get the tap. When creating the angle, when we gotten into the triangle setup is a couple of things. When we cross our feet here, three ways or three things you can do. First is getting the foot to the hip. If you don't like to open up your triangle, then there's other options. But the first one is, again, grabbing, foot on the hip, turn, pull the shin, lock. If we don't like to put the foot on the hip, is we can sometimes underhook the arm and kind of like pull ourselves in from here and then lock it up there. That's more if they have, if their leg is far away, then you feel like it's awkward to like reach down, then you can just go for the arm. But the best thing is getting underneath the leg and then pull yourself underneath their leg. So when you go here, you get an underhook on the leg, and then you can just pull yourself in and kind of pull them towards you. That creates a really, really good angle from here, grabbing the shin, and then we can lock it in. So going underneath the leg is a really, really good thing. And also the other thing when you grab the leg is, it's really hard for them to stand up and slam you on the mat. Another common problem when doing triangles is when you get over the shoulder and you get to here, you almost end up pulling your knee to your chest So when you get it to here and you lock in, that you end up with like your knees super high up into your chest. It might feel really good, but it's super hard to get the connection on the neck here. So if you end up here, try and like push them back a bit with your legs and then shoulder walk backwards. You can even put your hands on your knees to kind of like push. And if they're really strong, if they're on their toes, etc., you can actually open the triangle and put this foot on the hip. So you, again, grabbing the head, put a foot on the hip, and now from here, I'm gonna lift my hip a bit, go onto my shoulders, and then do a little shoulder walk, because you see I create a more 90-degree angle from here. And now I'm gonna end up doing the same here, arm across, grab the head, turn, and as you can see, there's a big opening in 90 degrees here compared to my knee being my chest, which makes it much easier when I get around to here to lock it up properly. Another common problem is when you need to turn to the side to create an angle, you end up moving your hips like underneath them instead of moving your body around them. So when we end up in the same position here and we start to create an angle, that you pull your knee to your chest and then you end up popping your hips more into the air instead of getting your shoulders out. So it looks like this. When I come out, it becomes more like I end up with my legs really high and my hip has come out to the side. So when you're here, think about the 90 degrees and then push them a little bit out to the side and keep your body more straight. So from here, when you turn, it's more like a straight. And then you can lock it up here compared to myself pulling myself underneath and ending up with the knee in my chest. So now this is the step-by-step setup to a triangle. It's a really good way of slowly improving your technique and the most basic way of doing a triangle. So from here, I'm gonna grab both wrists, and then on the side where I want the arm in, I'm gonna put my foot on her hip here, and when I lift my hip, I'm gonna push the arm in and kind of pull the arm a little bit, because if I just keep her arm up here, she still has posture, but if I pull just a little bit, you can pull them in. So from here, arm in and pull. Now when I lift my hip up, as soon as my hip comes up to my own wrist, I'm gonna let go and then come up and bite. From here, just cross your ankles and keep your hip up if possible, because now it's fairly easy to get across with the arm. Grab the back of the head for control, because now I can open my feet without her posturing up really easy. So grab the back of the head, foot on the hip, and remember, turn flat and do a little kick with the leg so we get a good bite. Come out. Grab the shin, and then come up and lock it as high as possible. Toes up, heel slowly down while we squeeze the knees. So make sure it's tight when you're trying to get the tap. So squeeze, heel down, knees slowly together, and then from here we can get it. So this is a more fast version you're probably gonna end up using when you're doing sparrings. Same setup, both wrists, but instead of stepping on her hip, I'm gonna throw my hips up and shoot forward towards her face, because I expect her to posture up. So when I go like here, I'm gonna open up and then throw my hips up and forward. And I'm trying to catch her shoulder and her neck. So it's gonna look like this. Push in, throw up, and catch. So I'm actually stretching my body forward, because otherwise I'm not gonna get a good bite from here. And now while my hip is up, arm comes across, pull her head forward, there, grab the back of it, foot onto the hip, make sure we keep the connection on the neck here, shin, come up and bite, underhook the leg if you feel like it, and then from here, again, toes up, heels down, knees together, and then we get a tap. When you get better at triangles, when you do the fast one, you can actually do a little cheat code on it. So when I throw my legs up, what I'm trying to do is create an angle right away. So from here, when I push in and I throw up, here, already now, I'm gonna try and get my foot behind her, and then you can come over and lock it up. So you can do it really fast from there. A simple way to set up the triangle choke and close guard is we get wrist control and get the wrist to the outside, and now we're gonna get a collar tie. What I would prefer is this hand is not on my chest. So you can just use your elbow to kind of clear it out and get collar tie. Now I'm gonna come out a little bit onto the side, and if you're flexible enough, push back, come around. You can just cross your feet from here if you want. Let go of the wrist, hip up, arm across, and then we're back to closing the normal triangle from here. Same setup, different version. So from here, wrist control, clear the hand, collar tie. And now when you get to the side, if you have a hard time getting your foot through, what you can from here, instead of pushing it back, you're actually gonna just start pushing it inwards here. And now I'm gonna open up, release the wrist, and come up and lock. Hip up, hand across, back of the head, underneath, and then from here, lock it up again. To set up the scissor sweep or the overhook triangle, instead of putting our foot on the ground, we're gonna use her hip to move. Because if we put the foot on the ground, if I have this and I put my foot here, if I slide out to here, there's a chance she can just take her knee and move over my foot, and then I get locked in, and then I can't really use it. So the better option, or the most useful option in my opinion, is when we're here and we grab, I'm gonna stretch my leg out, lift my hip up a bit, and just make a little bump out to the side. So from here, kick and bump. So you're gonna use her body and her hip and leg to move yourself out. So from here, stretch, turn your toes. Here, stretch, and then turn and do a shrimp motion at the same time, because it creates a lot of space still for moving in here. And the same when we do it with the overhook triangle here is stretch and then turn. So instead of trying to set the foot on the ground, just stretch and turn, because now we have lots of space to come up to here. So use their body to shrimp instead of using the ground, because your foot is just gonna get trapped. One of my favorite fancy ways of doing a triangle is when you set up a scissor sweep. Collar tie, wrist control, and then if this elbow starts leaning on the inside of my leg, then we can shoot a triangle with what I call like a shin trap triangle. So from here, same setup as a scissor sweep, collar tie, wrist grip, gonna get my hip to the outside. When I go across here and I can feel her arm is either going backwards or downwards to kind of protect here, I'm gonna kick out, lift up, and then get my shin onto her bicep and kind of like lock her arm into her chest. A good way to control from here is make sure your toes are active, because when she tries to pull her arm back to free it up, you can kind of follow, shoot up over the shoulder, and then pretty much from here you can create the angle, come over, underhook the leg, and then we can finish from there. Just do it again. One of my favorite ways of shooting a triangle is from the scissor sweep or the scissor sweep setup. Gonna come in, wrist control and collar tie. When I get to the side, what I'm aiming for is to get her hand on the inside of my leg, on top of my leg. So here, gonna set up the scissor sweep, hip out, gonna go inside her stomach from here. When I can see this arm starts to move on the inside or backwards, I'm just gonna make a big circle with my leg, try and get my shin bone onto her bicep or into the crook of her elbow, and then come down and then push it into her stomach from here. Make sure you trap her arm with your toes, because when she pulls her arm back, you can kind of follow, and then just slide your shin up, follow around, create an angle, and then already from here, we're in strong position to get underneath the leg and lock it up tight. The other version where they normally try to like grab my foot or like try and block my leg from the outside or remove it from their stomach is control, collar tie, gonna slide out to here. And then if they feel there's a big gap here, they try to like push my foot backwards because it clears out the scissor sweep. And then from here, just kick your leg out and come in and chop their neck. So from here, I'm just gonna kick out, slide up, and then connect, switch over, underhook on the leg, good control on the shin, and then lock onto the normal triangle from here, or again, switch over to the other one. Now we're gonna go over the Overhook Triangle from close guard, which in no-gi specifically is one of the more controlled options because it's harder for them to slide out and run away. From here, I'm gonna get one arm to the outside, get an overhook and a collar tie. When you get the overhook, don't just get a short, shallow one, but try and get your elbow as deep as possible in. Because the thing here is, what I want to now is turn my hips. So this hole where their arm can go straight up if I lose the collar tie is that the hole is gonna turn sideways. So from here, collar tie overhook, gonna stretch out my leg and turn my hips to the side. So from here, I get to the side, and you can see her arm to pull out is gonna go sideways and not upwards. And from here, we're gonna have a really strong setup to get either omoplata or a triangle. Most of the cases, triangle is the better option. Now on the other side, as you can see, we have a really good tight overhook, we have a collar tie, and now we're up onto the side. So you can see from here, what I want to accomplish now is use my forearm and elbow to block her shoulder, and then I want my knee in front of her shoulder. So when I'm here, I'm gonna push my elbow down, and then I'm gonna get my knee over. So my knee comes in front of her shoulder. Get a foot on the hip because it really increases the control you have. So from here, pull up, get to the hip. When I'm here, pull your knee up to her shoulder because this blocks her from posturing out when I need to release the hand from the head. So from here, knee up, clamp down, and now I'm gonna look for her wrist. So from here, you can either slide down to the elbow first if you feel like they're very spazzy, or you simply just go from here and grab the wrist. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stretch out and try and get my shin bone into her bicep because it creates a lot of space for me to move afterwards. So from here, I'm gonna stretch, and now I have a lot of space in here, where if I'm a little bit flexible, after stretching, I'm gonna do a little sit-up, come around, and then push her over, and now we can lock it up again over here. The other version from the same setup is when we get to here and we get wrist control, if I'm not that flexible, what I'm gonna do is simply just kick my leg out parallel to the floor and then push her wrist into her stomach. So I'm gonna kick my leg back down, push in, and then now when my leg comes up, remove the wrist and come up and bite. What you're gonna experience a lot of time is you feel you're on the wrong side of where you need to close the triangle. So when you get to here, turn her head over and now start looking for something that could create a little bit of angle. And then after we get to here, come back to lifting up, control, come over, and then we can again close up the triangle. Another version of this is when we have gotten the overhook here, slide out to the side, control, now knee comes in front and grab the wrist. I like when I do the little sit-up from here is when my leg comes around her shoulder, I'm gonna try and push her head as far away the opposite way because it creates the right angle for me to finish the triangle. So when I come across here, instead of just trying to lock it up here, I'm actually gonna straighten my leg out and push her over because now you can either lock it or if her arm is still in the way, just cross your feet and then we go back to coming across, create the angle and lock it up. As a bonus, the classic armbar triangle omoplata. So first, armbar triangle. Just gonna grab a wrist, go underneath the leg, swing my hips up, come up, get a good bite. Now here, make sure you have a good bite on the back of her back, because now when she pulls her arm out, I can still get my hip up from the bite, get across the shoulder, swing around, get the other underhook on the leg, and then catch the triangle here. Gonna underhook, swing around, get a good bite, her arms come out, swing over the shoulder, let go of the leg, come to the other side, turn all the way around, and then we can catch the triangle again. People like to get like their arm behind here and like kind of push down because it makes it hard to lock it up and it leaves a lot of space from here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna push her head to the side and swing over to omoplata. So from here, gonna come around, push out and get to omoplata from here. What happens a lot of times here is people start posturing up, and when they posture up, I'm just gonna follow up with my hips, open up, come up and catch, and now come around, and then we catch the triangle again when we come back from the omoplata. So flow combination with the armbar triangle omoplata can look a little bit like this. Wrist grip underneath the arm, gonna swing our hips up to the armbar, gonna pull out, come across, swing over to the triangle, arm goes behind, we switch back to the omoplata from here, and when they posture up from here, switch up, and then if you can get them all the way over, just come over, lock it up, or if the arm stays on the outside, just hip up, boom, foot across, and then we get back to here.